this lesson, we're going to get our run back animations working. Alright, so in the last lesson we had created our character to run forward. We did that with a blend tree, and if you go into your animator you can see how that's working here. So it's passing in the speed parameter, and it's going from 0 to 1, and as it gets closer to 1 it goes into the run animation. It will blend between the two. Now it does a really great job of that transition from the idle to the full run. Now let's go ahead and create our grounded backward blend tree. So we're going to right click, create new from blend tree. Let's give it a new name, and we're going to call this grounded underscore back. Okay. Double click on that, and let's go ahead and pass in our animation clips. So it's going to be the same steps as last time, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop in the run back, but we also need our idle. So let's add our motion fields. We need 2 of those, just like we did in the last lesson. And the parameter is set to speed. Let's grab the idle, and we're going to use the idle back. Plug that into the top motion field, and then let's grab the run, and we're going to put that into the bottom motion field. Everything should be set properly, and if we go ahead and hit play, now if I run forward, you'll see that it's running as it should, and then it goes into the idle state, and then I can go backward, and you can see that it's running here. But now you'll notice that it's not switching. So why isn't it switching? Well, if we go into our animator and then we go back to the base layer, you'll notice that the grounded front is the default animation. We don't have a transition that's going from grounded front to grounded backward. So let's right click, make a transition to the grounded back. Now select that transition, and here you can see that we have a condition, and this condition, whenever it's met, we'll go ahead and let it go to the grounded back blend tree. So what should be the condition for this? Well, if the character is facing forward, meaning facing right, then we're going to play this animation. Now, whenever we hit the A key, the character flips and is facing to the left. But what we need to do is we need to tell this transition that it's facing left and then go into this animation. So let's create a new parameter, and let's make this a Boolean parameter. Go ahead and select this and give it a name called facing right. There we go. And then with that transition selected, go to your conditions and say facing right is false. So whenever facing right is false, we're going to go into the grounded back. And then we're going to right click and make another transition to go back to the grounded front. This time we're going to say facing right is true. So that way we've created a loop to be able to go back in between these 2 different states. Now we need to access this parameter. Now with grounded front as the default, we need to make sure that facing right is set to true by default. So now let's go ahead and open up our character movement script. And what we need to do now is we need to set a Boolean variable for whenever the character is flipping. So in our flip function, let's just go down to the bottom here, and we'll just simply say anim.setBool, open parentheses, open quotations, and then give it that parameter name that we just created. So it was called facing right. Now you must make sure that it's spelled exactly the same, and that you must also make sure that your punctuation is the same. So make sure you have a lowercase f and an uppercase R. Then we'll do comma, and then what do we want to set this to? Well, we don't want to set it to true or false. We want it to be synced up with the facing right variable that we've created here. So let's go ahead and tell it, instead of true or false, let's say facing right. So whatever that variable is at the time. So that keeps us from having to create one set bool somewhere and then another one in a different place. We can just do it in one line in the flip function. Now let's hit Control S to save that. Let's go into Unity and let's test this out. So if we run forward, you can see that our character is running, and then we can go back and you can see now he's facing the correct direction. And now we've got this nice smooth turning animation. So he goes from one direction to the other, and he goes back and forth pretty quickly, but that's okay. So we've got a nice bit of animation here, looking really, really good. All right, so now that we've got our running going back and forth, let's go ahead and start working on our jump. Now, something that I just noticed about our character is that he's a little small on the screen, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and change his scale. And we don't want to change the Ghost Knight rig scale, okay? We want to make sure that's still set to 1 by 1. By changing that scale, it would stretch out the mesh, and it's still trying to be skinned to the bones. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take the parent game object, which is character, and we're going to scale it to 1.5 by 1.5. Whoops, let's make sure that that is 1.5, not 11.5. And then don't forget about the Z as well. So now if I hit play, he appears to be a little bit bigger on the screen, and that looks really good. Now, we don't have that tree cover set up yet. We're just working on the character for right now. But everything is looking really good. Character feels like he's immersed into the level